I'm Ellen the Crazy Crafty Lady, here with another awesome video. Today I thought we'd hang out and I could work on some of my sewing projects. I'm working on a pot holder with a pocket. I may make several of these with some of my Christmas fabric for the holiday, but this is just kind of, I don't know, sort of a Southwest feel, sort of a fall type of colors. So I thought we could hang out and work on an awesome pot holder. Got my big square for my big 12-inch piece. I had to make it bigger than the 10-inch because the 10-inch was too small. And then we have our 8 by 8, which is this piece here. And we have our awesome Insulbright, which goes in here in the middle. And we'll measure that in a minute and get it in the middle. And then we have this piece, which goes over the Insulbright. And then we have our pocket, which is 8 by 5 for the pocket. And then we have our other little pocket piece that goes on this side for this side. And we have our Insulbright to go in the pocket. And we have our binding strip for the top of the pocket. And we also have our loop, of course. Gotta have a loop on our pot holder. And it's a 3-inch by 8 for the binding on our pocket top. And we will put our binding like this. And then we will put our other piece on top like that. And then what we want to do is we want the binding piece to go on upside down. And then we're going to sew just on this little line here. And then we are going to flip it. So let's go over to our machine. And you can always put a pin or a clip or something if you want in it. I have my awesome pile of clips. I may not need them all, but I may need a few for the square part anyways. So let's do this, and let's put a couple down here. We'll just kind of keep it in place while we sew our binding piece across. And let's put a couple on here. And we'll just kind of sandwich all this together. And let's put a clip here. Like that. Let's flip it over and make sure that the back side is just as nice as the front. All right. Now we're ready to go to the machine. And we will get it on the machine. Let me add a clip just right here, just for my own satisfaction. All right, let's take this to our sewing machine, and we will sew this piece on. Let me get you in here. I am also the cameraman as usual, so okay. And we will just sew across our binding strip. I have my skinny foot on here, which I like. Let's get our machine and let's put that in the middle. And we will sew right on that little line. Kind of like backwards, forwards. And we will sew that down the line. move our clip a little bit. Sometimes you gotta remove them. Let's remove that one and kind of flatten that out a little bit. And let's backspace that. And there we have that. It's not perfectly straight, but it will do. Now let's remove 2 of our clips. And let's fold this. And you could take it to the iron and give it a pressing. Let me grab my scissors over here so I can cut my awesome threads off as I go along. Everything can be trimmed later too. All right, let's fold this in like that. And then we will take this piece and fold it like this. And then fold it over. And we will fold this whole thing. And we will sew. This will be the inside of our pocket here. And there we have a really, really nice looking pocket. All right, let's go back over to the table and we'll get ready for this next piece. Sorry, my camera's going fast. All right, next what we want to do is we want to work on this piece and get it lined up. Our Insulbrite piece is lined up really good with that. Let's flip it and line it so that it's basically pretty well even. It's not quite the size, but I left a little room for the sewing thing. And then we want all around the square to be about 2 inches. So it's going to be, let's see if we got this right. We can do a measurement on this. It's about 2. It's about 2, not quite, which means this is probably not quite. That's a little bit beyond. So slide, take a fast measure. That's about 2. And we'll say that's about 2. It's not bad. It's a little bit off. All right, let's measure the top and the bottom. All right, that needs to slide up a hair. All right, let's get this part measured. We have almost 2, not quite. Let's see the bottom. Now, that's got to go up a little bit more. All right, that should be about it. So we've got 2 there. And we've got not quite 2 there. So let me hold this down and just slide it a little bit. And it's about 2. And this is not quite 2. So it's just a tiny bit off. So let's just go like that. That should do it. All right, we have, that's about good. And this is about good. It's just slightly different. That's okay. Now what we want to do is take this to our ironing board and fold these over and give them a pressing. So let's take this to the ironing board. Let's let that sit. Let's see what we have here. All right, let's do that. Let's leave this sit here. And we'll take this to the ironing board. And we'll press around the square. Right, let me try to hang on to this. And let's get us in here a little bit more. There we go. Now we'll just see how heated this is. All right, what we want to do is we want to do this one first, because this top corner is going to get our little handle, our loop. So we can press this one first. Nicely pressed. Then we can take the bottom, give that a pressing. All right, and then we can do this side. Just press the square just so that it's easy when we do. There we have a nice looking square already. Now what we need to do is turn it out first. Because what we got to do now is fold this back. And we'll give that a little pressing too. So that we have 2 nicely pressed lines. And then fold that over like that. Press it down. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to take this side, fold that piece to the line. Give that a little bit of a pressing as well. Just enough to hold it while we fold it over. Fold it over. Now we'll press the whole thing. Looks fantastic. Let's try this side first. Fold it in. Fold it over. And then we'll slide our pocket in there. After we do fold that over. Give it a pressing. I like to press everything when I'm sewing. Okay. Now, what we want to do is, ooh, it's a little hot. Let's go back to our table. And let's see. Let me see if I can get you in here a little bit better. There we go. And let's do this. Let's get our pocket now. This is what we want to do with the pocket. Put that and put it right on top of this. Let me slide this down a little bit. Okay. And we'll put our pocket this way. And now we can fold these sides over. Fold that to the line, get back our crease. All right, we gotta fold this crease back again. I'm gonna put a clip in this one just to kind of hold it down on the ends. And then we will fold our crease over like that. Let's get a clip here. We'll get a clip on our end. All right, and this is our little piece for our loop, which I kind of ironed it a little the other day, but let's see. I'm going to go really quick with this pressing on the iron. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to really quickly put a seam all down this line for our little loop. It'll take me just a moment to do that. And your loop doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to be looking nice and straight, kinda. Alright, let's trim that. Bit of string. Here we have our awesome little loop. And what we want to do is just kind of fold it over. You can fold it like this if you want. But if there's not enough room on there, then you can just fold it a little bit over. Or you can just have the whole thing over like that. I think I'm going to have it just a little bit over so it kind of evens out with all my sides. I'm going to use one of my big quilting clips on that because it will hold it better, I think, while we sew around. And then we're going to fold our last side over. Fold it like this. Our pocket will be kind of high up, but that's okay too, because I'm not about total perfection. I just like fun pot holders. Let me remove this one. Put it over that. Put this one on the corner, because we're going to go around both the edges. Okay, we'll put a clip there. Let's put a clip over here. There we go. All right, and we are ready for the sewing machine. So let's head back over to the machine. And let me get you guys in here. And we will stitch around our awesome pot holder. So let's see. I think I might want to start over here maybe. Let me see. We want to catch this a little bit. We want it to go to the bottom. And just overlap it some. Just so that it's in there enough, but it's at the bottom. And it'll catch all of our stitches. Okay. So let's go. I think I'm going to do around this edge first. Let's see. I want it in the middle, or I want it on the edge. Right there should be enough. All right, let's do this. Let's do our back stitching. Let me kind of pull this out for a minute and just kind of pull that back a little bit. All right, let me take that clip off just to make sure that we're all good there. Stretch that out a little bit so it doesn't. There we go. All right, gotta push that under. All right, let's turn our work. We need to go one more stitch. One more stitch. Okay, let's turn our work, and we will sew down. Let's kind of hold this in place too as we go, just because sometimes certain areas you need to hold it down as you go. Turn. Oh, we gotta do one more stitch. Sometimes you gotta turn it a couple times, check it, and go back and pull the clips off here so we can kind of pull that piece down. corner and kind of give it a tugging just a little bit. Alright, let's see if it's enough. Nope, one more stitch. And then the outer edge, you can always push those pieces in. Turn our work. Let's pull that one off because this one needs to be kind of a good tug. Oops, went a little too far. Then what we want to do is alright, that's that. Let's do the other edging and we can just kind of roll that in a bit. From a couple of strings. Alright, let's and we're not out for perfection either. We're just out for a really cute potholder. That space. And now we will go around the other side. The outer edges, I should say. Sorry if you're hearing that noise, my furnace kicked on. Let me get my scissors and just push that down. Turn our work. That clip out. Turn work. On the last side. And this is the side we want to use our little pair of scissors here this time. Tuck that under. It's not a perfect pie holder, but it's a cute one. Stitching. Oh, we're not yet. Oops. Let me backspace that up right here. Still have that on the last side. Alright, let's turn it. Trim our strings here real quick. At our end now. cable. And, well, it's not perfect. Let me run this over to the ironing board. And by no means, let's clip out, let's get my scissors. We'll just cut off some bits of string. And by no means my pot holder is perfect. No, it's not. It's not perfect one bit. But it is a very cute and fun pot holder. And this is my video. And thanks for watching. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.